first enemy is not hunger. It is not predators. It is temperature. Before tools, before language, before culture, the human body enters a world that is fundamentally hostile to its design. Humans are tropical mammals, evolved from moderate climates, thin-skinned and hairless, dependent on constant internal heat to survive. Our biology assumes warmth. The planet does not guarantee it. In extreme environments, Ice Age Eurasia, subarctic tundra, high mountain plateaus, frozen forests, the margin between life and death is measured in degrees. The human core must remain close to 37 degrees Celsius. Drop it by 2 degrees and cognitive function begins to fail. At 33 degrees Celsius, muscle coordination collapses. At 30 degrees Celsius, consciousness fades. In air temperatures of -20 degrees Celsius, an unprotected human body can lose heat faster than it can generate it. At -40 degrees Celsius, exposed skin can freeze in under a minute. Cold is not passive. It is an active force governed by physics. Heat moves from warm objects to cold ones by conduction, convection, radiation, and evaporation. Frozen ground pulls warmth from feet through direct contact. Wind strips heat from skin through moving air. Clear night skies draw infrared radiation away from bodies. Moisture, sweat, breath, snow accelerates heat loss through evaporation. The environment does not attack. It simply obeys thermodynamics. Ancient humans quickly learned that survival is not about strength or speed. It is about controlling heat flow. The first shelters are not homes in the modern sense. They are experiments, temporary barriers placed between flesh and physics. A fallen tree blocking wind, a rock overhang reducing exposure, a pile of branches trapping still air. But exposure remains deadly. Wind penetrates gaps. Snow melts and refreezes. Rain strips insulation. Shelter must evolve. And the Earth itself offers the first solution. Below the surface, the world changes. While surface air may swing violently, from -40 degrees Celsius at night to near freezing by day, the temperature underground stabilizes. At depths of 1 to 2 meters, soil maintains a near constant temperature close to the annual average. In cold regions, this is often around 0 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees is cold, but it is survivable. This is the moment ancient humans discover thermal mass. Earth is dense. 1 cubic meter of soil can store millions of joules of thermal energy. It absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly. Unlike air, it resists rapid temperature change. By surrounding themselves with Earth, humans place their lives inside a buffer zone against the extremes above. Across continents and millennia, the same solution emerges independently. Pit houses, dugout shelters, semi-subterranean dwellings. The logic is consistent, even when cultures never meet. Dig down. Reduce exposure. Use the planet as insulation. A pit house lowers the living space below ground level, reducing surface area exposed to wind. Walls are carved directly into soil or reinforced with wood, stone, or bone. Roofs are built low and heavy, layered with branches, hides, sod, and eventually snow itself. Snow, paradoxically, becomes an ally. Fresh snow contains up to 90% trapped air, making it an excellent insulator. A roof buried under snow can reduce heat loss dramatically, maintaining interior temperatures far above the outside air. The entrance is small, always small. Every opening is a leak in the thermal envelope. Cold air flows inward. Warm air escapes upward. Ancient builders instinctively limit door size, often requiring inhabitants to crawl inside. This is not inconvenience. It is engineering. Some entrances angle downward, forcing cold air to sink away from the living space. Others include short tunnels that act as airlocks, reducing convective heat loss when doors are opened. Inside, ceilings are kept low. Warm air rises. A high ceiling traps heat where it is useless. A low roof keeps warmth within reach of bodies. The floor plan is compact. Fewer cubic meters of air require less energy to heat. Space efficiency becomes survival efficiency. Shelter placement follows environmental logic. South-facing slopes capture more solar radiation. Hills block prevailing winds. Valleys provide fuel access but risk cold air pooling. Every location is a compromise between protection, resources, and safety. Even the shape of the shelter matters. Rounded walls reduce surface area and eliminate corners where cold air stagnates. Curved forms distribute structural stress and thermal flow more evenly. This architecture is not symbolic. It is biological. The shelter becomes an extension of the body's thermoregulatory system. A second skin, thicker and more reliable than flesh. Construction is slow and communal. Digging frozen ground with stone tools requires enormous energy. Every strike of an antler pick burns calories that must be replaced by food. The shelter must save more energy than it costs to build, or it is a failure. This calculation, though never written, is always present. Once completed, the difference is immediate. Outside, wind howls and temperatures plummet. Inside, air grows still. The earth dampens sound. Heat loss slows. The human body no longer fights alone. Without fire, interior temperatures may hover just below freezing. With fire, they rise into the narrow band where survival becomes sustainable. That difference, sometimes less than 10 degrees, determines whether a child lives through the night. Shelter is not comfort. It is resistance. It allows humans to remain in places where biology alone would forbid them. It enables settlement, memory, planning. It transforms nomads into inhabitants. By moving underground, ancient humans do not escape the environment. They negotiate with it. And in that negotiation, the foundations of survival engineering are laid, not in blueprints or equations, but in dirt, sweat, and the slow mastery of heat itself. The first flicker of flame is more than light. It is life itself, a controlled pulse in a world that otherwise offers none. Inside the semi-subterranean shelters of ancient humans, fire becomes the heart, the central organ of survival. It is not decoration or ritual at first. It is a machine. Every ember is measured, every spark is precious, every log is a stored calorie of energy. The physics of fire dictates the daily rhythm of life, and early humans learn, through trial, error, and observation, how to harness it with meticulous precision.
Now. The wood
1
just
kilogram of dry wood can release roughly 16 megajoules of energy. In human terms, that is enough to sustain a small body's basal metabolism for several days. But in extreme cold, most of that energy would vanish into the air within minutes if not properly captured. Open fires radiate heat, yes, but convection carries the warmth upward, out of reach, while smoke threatens lungs, eyes, and visibility. Left unmanaged, fire becomes a threat as easily as the frost outside. To control it, early humans engineer. Fire pits are often recessed into the floor of their dwellings, surrounded by stones that act as thermal buffers. These stones absorb the heat while flames burn and release it slowly after the fire dies down.
Heat radiates
Smoke channels,
outward,
primitive
absorbed
flues,
by the rough
draw out
textures of
harmful
the rock.
gases while pulling in fresh air at ground level. The chimney effect, a natural consequence of temperature gradients, is exploited instinctively. Warm air rises, creating suction that draws oxygen to the embers and expels smoke. Fire management is an art of efficiency. Embers are carefully banked under ash at night, insulated against the cold and preserved as a ready source of ignition. Rekindling fire from embers consumes far less energy than starting anew with friction or percussion. In regions where outside
Moss and
temperatures
dry
plunge
grass
to
are
minus
excellent
40
insulators.
degrees Celsius,
When combined
losing
with the
fire
hides,
can be
the
fatal
trapped
within
air pockets
hours.
provide crucial
Fire is
warmth.
life, carefully rationed, maintained, and revered. Shelter and fire together form a system. Sleeping platforms are raised to take advantage of stratified air. Cold air sinks, warm air rises. Even a difference of 30 to 50 centimeters between floor and bed can mean several degrees of warmth. Bedding is layered, grasses, moss, furs, and hides trap air, which acts as insulation. A single reindeer hide can reduce conductive heat loss by more than 50% compared to bare ground. Humans learn that heat is easier to conserve than to produce. Conservation becomes as critical as production. Clothing is the mobile extension of the shelter. Multiple layers trap air, slow heat transfer, and allow moisture management. Breathable yet insulating, furs are oriented with the hair inward or outward depending on the season, and sinew stitching allows movement without compromising the garment's structural integrity. Sweat is a hidden enemy. Evaporative cooling can reduce skin temperature dangerously fast. Humans learn to balance activity, ventilation, and layering to preserve core warmth. Fuel is currency. Wood is heavy, scarce, and not always dry. Dung burns steadily but produces smoke. Bone burns intensely but is finite. Every decision, what to burn, when to burn, and how much, carries consequences that extend days or weeks into the future. Fire is rarely allowed to die completely. Its persistence is a strategy, a hedge against environmental volatility. Ventilation is equally critical. Too little airflow, and carbon monoxide accumulates
Smoke
silently,
rises from the hearth,
risking
curing
poisoning.
the strips of meat
Too
hanging
much,
just above.
and heat escapes
It's a
into
delicate
the frozen
process
world.
of balancing the smoke and the
holes
cold
are
ambient
adjustable.
air.
Doors are layered with hides. Some shelters feature vestibules acting as airlocks to reduce convective loss during ingress and egress. The balance between warmth and ventilation is delicate, learned only through careful observation, trial, and experience. Animals become partners in the survival system. In pastoral or semi-nomadic societies, livestock are brought into or adjacent to shelters. Their body heat adds measurable warmth. A single sheep emits roughly 100 watts of heat. 10 animals equal a small fire, contributing heat without consuming wood. Their presence also protects water from freezing, reduces frost accumulation in shelters, and provides psychological comfort, a subtle yet vital factor in long winters. Daily routines are shaped by thermodynamics as much as by culture. Activity outside is minimized during the coldest hours. Necessary tasks are clustered to reduce repeated exposure. Food preparation occurs near the fire not only for cooking but for maintaining warmth. Even the position of individuals around the hearth is calculated. Proximity to the flame, insulation from cold drafts, and shared body heat all contribute to survival. Diet itself is part of the engineered system. Fat is critical. 1 gram of fat yields 9 kilocalories, more than double that of protein or carbohydrates. Cold-adapted humans seek out high-fat meats, marrow, and organ tissue to maintain metabolic heat production. Metabolism becomes an internal furnace, augmented by external systems like shelter, fire, and clothing. Storage systems are optimized for temperature and preservation. Frozen soil acts as a natural refrigerator. Snow cellars and shallow caches preserve meat, fish, and tubers for months. Elevated racks or platforms keep food from scavengers while allowing airflow to prevent spoilage. Every design choice reflects an understanding of energy efficiency, decay rates, and predator behavior. Even water management is a carefully tuned system. Access to liquid water in subzero temperatures is limited. Humans melt snow or ice, often near the fire to reduce energy expenditure. The small difference between a pot placed directly on embers versus suspended above them determines how quickly water can be safely melted without excessive fuel consumption. Efficiency drives innovation. A shelter that loses twice as much heat requires double the fuel to maintain the same temperature. In harsh environments, that difference may be the line between life and death. These early engineers are not guided by blueprints. They are guided by observation, feedback, and necessity. Every shelter, fire, and routine is an iteration in survival optimization. The home becomes more than a dwelling. It is a system integrating multiple survival subsystems: thermal management, airflow control, insulation, storage, and social coordination. It is a primitive but precise machine, designed to maximize caloric efficiency while preserving life. At the center of this system, the flame pulses like a heartbeat. It is watched, measured, fed, and respected. It defines the rhythm of work and rest, day and night, season and year. Fire is not just survival. It is the axis around which all other systems revolve. And as humans refine these systems, raising platforms, layering furs, developing vestibules, banking embers, harnessing animal heat, they are not merely enduring the cold. They are mastering it, building resilience not just in flesh but in culture, knowledge, and method. In this delicate interplay between human, fire, and earth, ancient people engineer survival not through brute strength, but through careful, deliberate control of the fundamental forces that govern life. The shelter is a machine, the fire is its engine, and humans are both operators and beneficiaries, working together in a synchronized system that turns the hostile extremes of the world into a livable, measurable, and ultimately conquerable environment. Winter is not merely cold. It is silence. It is confinement. It is the stretching of hours and nights into endless, muted gray. Snow drifts over familiar tracks. Rivers freeze into stone. The horizon narrows, shrinking the world to the reach of vision and memory. In such extremes, survival is no longer purely physical. It becomes psychological. The mind must endure isolation, monotony, fear, and the constant awareness of mortality. In ancient shelters, darkness dominates. At high latitudes, sunlight may vanish for weeks, sometimes months. Circadian rhythms are disrupted. Human senses, accustomed to seasonal cues, strain to maintain focus. The smallest irritations, noise, hunger, discomfort, become amplified threats to morale. Within this crucible, social structure becomes more than convenience. It is insulation for the human psyche. Hierarchies form not arbitrarily, but around knowledge, skill, and reliability. Elders guide, not through authority alone, but through accumulated experience. Their decisions on fire management, food rationing, and clothing layered with efficiency are literal matters of life and death. Daily routines are anchors. They create rhythm where nature offers none.
Holds the memories
Tending
of
the
our
fire,
ancestors,
repairing tools,
keeping the darkness
preparing
at
food,
bay with
weaving
every
furs,
spark.
maintaining shelters, each
These
repeated
stories
action
carry the
marks time,
knowledge of
provides
generations.
purpose, and
Listen
reinforces
closely,
social
for
cohesion.
your lives may one
Even
day depend
storytelling
on it.
serves a functional role. Oral history preserves knowledge, which shelters withstand the worst blizzards, how to process marrow for maximal caloric gain, the locations of seasonal hunting grounds. In passing knowledge, adults encode survival strategies directly into the culture of the young, transforming them from passive occupants of a harsh world into competent participants in its negotiation. Spiritual beliefs often emerge from this intimate engagement with the environment. Winter is anthropomorphized, not as a distant season, but as an active force, a being to be respected, feared, and negotiated with. Rituals center on fire, the hearth, and survival practices. These rituals are not symbolic luxuries. They are cognitive tools, reinforcing habits essential to endurance. Never waste fuel, never leave a child exposed, never ignore early warning signs of frostbite or hunger. Animals, too, occupy a place within both physical and psychological survival systems. Beyond their heat contribution, they provide companionship. In extended isolation, the breathing, warmth, and presence of livestock reduce stress, anxiety, and the gnawing fear of solitude. Human survival in these conditions depends as much on the maintenance of social and emotional bonds as on the conservation of calories. Preparation for spring begins months before the thaw. While snow covers the landscape, humans plan the next hunting season, repair tools, sharpen blades, and inspect shelters. Seeds, if cultivated, are carefully stored in insulated caches. Knowledge transfer occurs constantly. Lessons learned in previous winters are rehearsed, evaluated, and refined. Every action is filtered through foresight, the understanding that endurance in the present depends on preparation for the future. Endurance during winter fosters ingenuity. Humans learn to anticipate threats before they arise. Ice over rivers is never assumed stable. Wind direction dictates the placement of smoke vents. Snow drifts inform the reinforcement of roof structures. The shelter, the hearth, and the routines are all modular systems, each fine-tuned to environmental feedback. They are living machines, maintained by observation and experience rather than written calculations. Isolation amplifies the value of cooperation. Conflict, waste, and negligence are lethal luxuries. Survival demands harmony, sharing fuel, dividing labor, protecting the weakest members. Human culture itself becomes a survival tool, engineered to reduce risk and optimize the use of finite resources. Humor, story, ritual, and song serve as emotional stabilizers, reinforcing trust and connection in an environment where loneliness can kill as surely as frostbite. When spring arrives, it does not immediately bring relief. Thawing snow turns paths to mud, frozen rivers crack unpredictably, early blooms can be deceptive indicators of food availability. Yet, the systems built in winter prove their worth. Shelters hold, embers survive, knowledge endures. Humans emerge from isolation not merely alive, but stronger, wiser, and more integrated with their environment. The lessons of these survival systems are not lost to time. Modern engineering, earth-sheltered homes, energy-efficient buildings, passive solar heating, often mirrors ancient principles. Thermal mass, airlocks, insulation, and heat conservation reflect the same logic first discovered by humans millennia ago. Work with physics, do not fight it. Fuel efficiency, careful planning, and layered protection remain critical. While materials and tools have advanced, the underlying principles remain identical. Perhaps the most profound legacy is philosophical. Ancient humans did not dominate nature through force. They survived through observation, adaptation, and the patient accumulation of knowledge. They understood limits of bodies, resources, and energy, and designed systems to work within those limits. They built not monuments to power, but machines of endurance. Their intelligence was pragmatic, rooted in survival, yet it produced complex social, cultural, and technological structures. In extreme environments, humans discovered that resilience is both a physical and social phenomenon. Shelter, fire, clothing, diet, and labor routines are intertwined with cooperation, trust, and shared memory. Knowledge is encoded in habit, ritual, and oral instruction. Survival is holistic. Physiology, psychology, engineering, and culture form a single adaptive organism. Their achievements are invisible in many ways. Unlike stone temples or cities, semi-subterranean dwellings leave scant traces. Yet they sustained life against climates far more severe than most modern urban environments will ever experience. They are a testament to human ingenuity, patience, and adaptability. The wind still arrives first. It strips heat from the world, it challenges every organism exposed to it. But humanity has learned to negotiate with it, to measure it, to prepare for it. Behind walls of earth, insulated by furs, warmed by fire, humans endure. Behind the flickering flame, knowledge circulates. Skills are taught, routines followed, stories told. Survival becomes not a desperate struggle but a disciplined system. A choreography of life against the elements. Modern humans may no longer face weeks without sunlight or nights at -40 degrees Celsius, but the lessons endure. Efficiency, preparation, and cooperation remain critical in every extreme environment. Energy is finite. Risk is constant. Knowledge is power. And perhaps the most enduring lesson of all, survival is not the conquest of nature. It is the careful negotiation with it. It is listening, learning, and adapting, building systems that harmonize with natural forces rather than attempting to override them. The flame continues to burn. The shelter continues to hold. And humanity, shaped by the extremes, survives. In that survival, there is a quiet beauty, a poetry of engineering and life intertwined. The earth itself becomes a partner, the fire its pulse, and humans the orchestrators of a delicate, enduring equilibrium. Winter ends. Spring begins. Life continues. And the knowledge of survival, painstakingly engineered over generations, flows forward, unchanging, yet ever evolving, into the present and the future.